Now in this lesson we'll look at drawing some tree diagrams to help us solve our probability questions. Examples. A coin is tossed 3 times. In part A we need to draw a tree diagram to illustrate the different results possible. Then in part B, find the probability of getting 3 heads. And finally in part C, to find the probability of getting at least 2 tails. Well, part A firstly, we draw a tree diagram. So, if a coin is tossed 3 times, we'll consider the first, the second, and the third throws. Now, starting at a point, okay, any good tree, if you like, started just from a seed. The first, okay, we're going to write as best we can in a straight line the first possible results. Well, we can either get a head or a tail. Okay, it's pretty simple, either a head or a tail. Now, the second throw. Well, let's say our first throw was a head. On the second throw, we could get a head or a tail. If, on the other hand, our first throw was a tail, our second throw could also be a head or a tail. Now, let's move on to our third throw. Well, from here, doesn't matter what we throw, the next throw can always be a head or a tail. So from each of the points, a head or a tail as the next throw. So finally there, we completed a head or a tail. Now the whole purpose of drawing these tree diagrams is to generate a list of different results. So the results are, if we follow the branches here, H, 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 okay, that's 3 heads. The next one, 2 heads, then a tail. The next one, a head, tail, then a head and then 2 tails. Now, jumping down here, a tail, then 2 heads, tail, head, tail, 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 head, and finally 3 tails. So they are all our different results. There are 8 of them, okay? 8 different results there. Now we can start answering some questions. We need to find the probability of getting 3 heads. Well, the probability of head, 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 let's have a look. It only occurs once out of 8. So the probability is 1 out of 8. What about the probability of getting at least 2 tails? Now, at least 2 tails means 2 tails or more than 2 tails. So let's see where it occurs. There it occurs once. It occurs there again. It occurs there again, okay? All those showing 2 tails, but at least 2 tails would also include getting 3 tails. So it happens 4 times there out of 8. So the fraction, the probability is 4 over 8. And of course we can simplify that, break it down to 1/2. Excellent. Our second example now. 3 cards labelled 4, 5 and 6 are placed in a hat. They are drawn out one at a time and placed next to each other to form a 3-digit number. Now again, we need to draw a tree diagram to illustrate the different results possible. Then we're going to find the probability that the number formed is even. And finally find the probability that the number formed is less than 500. Well, let's start by our tree diagram. So they are drawn out one at a time. So a first draw, a second draw, and then a third draw. Now the 3 cards are labelled 4, 5 and 6. So the first possibility, we could get a 4, or we could get a 5, or we could get a 6. Now the second draw. It's a little bit different now. If our first card is a 4, right, let's have a look up there. That 4's been drawn out, so let's block it out. So what's left? Okay, only a 5 and a 6. So the second draw would either be a 5 or a 6. What about this one? What say if the first was a 5? Okay, we drew the 5 out first. Okay, up the top there, let's block it out. What is there remaining? Alright, the second draw would have to be either a 4 or a 6. But what if the first card was a 6? Let's block that out. There's only a 4 and 5 remaining, so the second card would have to be a 4 or a 5. Now we're on to our third card drawn. Well, in this instance, we've drawn the 4 out, then the 5 out. There's only the 6 left. In this way, we've drawn the 4, then the 6. So the third card would have to be 5. Okay, have a bit of a think about this. There's only working out which cards are left. On this hand, we have a 5, then a 4. Well, what's left? Okay, it has to be 6, doesn't it? In this instance, we've drawn a 5, then a 6, so it has to be 4. And our final two situations, this one, a 6 and a 4, the next one has to be 5, or a 6 and a 5, then finish with a 4. Okay, the results now. We have a 456, a 456. Next one, 465. The next number is 546, then 564, 645, and finally 654. Terrific. Okay, those results is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different results there. Now we can start answering the probability questions. We need to find the probability that the number formed is even. Well, the P of even, let's see, there are 4 of them. Okay, 4 even numbers there out of the possible 6. So 4 chances out of 6, and that will break down 2 over 3, 2/3. Find the probability that the number formed is less than 500. So we'll write that down, P of the number being less than 500. This time, the 456 and the 465, certainly they're less than 500. All the others, though, are bigger. So there's only 2 of them, 2 out of the 6. So we write that, and again we'll break that fraction down to 1/3.